What's up, everybody? We're the Aardbuddies here today. We got Log, we got Sylvie, we got Keeves, we got Lake, and we got our special guest today, HunterSerge, champion of the Earth Pantheon and finalist of Elestriad Season 4. What is up, guys?
Nothing. Glad to replace Steuben with HunterSerge.
Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't
Finally
do
got
well
rid
in
of
the
that
last
one.
one, so he's been replaced.
Got top 16, said we're done.
Yep.
Cut it there.
We've got a real,
Got it there.
Finalist here. That's some freaking
We're
top
getting our pay
16
cuts in,
placement.
all right?
That's crazy.
All right, but anyway, want to start off by talking about some Elestriad Season 4 stuff. So, HunterSerge, you're the one who's got the in with Elestriad.
Yeah.
You know what's going on. We
Yeah.
don't have Steuben here to talk about it, so we want to get your thoughts and experience about this season. So, I want to start off. You chose the Earth Pantheon. Was that your first choice?
So when the draft started, I've told this a number of times. I was pick number 26. So I was like, I am probably not getting what I want. But I was like, if I get to choose what I want, my pick order is Thunder, Earth, Frost, then like Water and Wind are probably tied. Because those two are also pretty solid. But like if I can get Zeus or Demeter, or the element that functions completely fine without Zeus or Demeter, I'm going to pick that every single time. And then it got down to pick number 26, and there were still 2 Earths left.
That's crazy,
That's
actually.
insane.
Like,
That's actually
I don't
insane.
know
there
who
were
was letting
there were
those
3
go.
Earths. There were 3 Earths left at like pick 20. I was like, okay, it might happen, but between pick 20 and me was Justin, who's a good enough player that he will definitely pick Earth, and also both K-Cray and PK, who I felt like they probably would want to take Earth.
Probably should
And
have.
then PK and K-Cray took Solar.
Oh my.
PK being the Panzer player
Right.
decides to take Solar is crazy.
Okay,
Also,
loving
when you're saying
Echolinks,
that,
like,
Pretty
Wind
good
was
for
your
champion.
saying that Wind was your like 5th choice. I saw Keeves
Yeah,
shaking
like,
your head
tied
there.
for-
I
with
don't
that.
agree with that. No, I don't agree with that.
Tied for like 4th pick would have been Wind, yes. Because
I'll
like
take
Wind has a lot of like in element really good Elestrals. Like what I realized very quickly is that one of the highest value things you can have outside of having Zeus or Demeter is an element that has its own in element eddy, and Wind has
Yeah.
2.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
yeah, like it's kind of crazy. It's just, like you can like have essentially like 9 eddies in your deck.
Yeah.
and it's just like,
Yeah, exactly.
what do you do against it?
And also you just have you can put the jump scare Hydrake in there, so it's like
Exactly.
Yeah.
like
Yep.
Now I kind of want to build a deck of pseudo eddies.
yeah,
It's just all
yeah,
eddies in the
We
deck.
got a new one. Champion Galaxy.
Yeah,
We got a
there's
new
a
one.
It's called position
There's
control.
There's
Oh,
enough,
we're building this.
Stopped. What are
that
you
you can
talking
run-
about?
there's enough now that you can run 15 of them.
Yeah, you just run 3
Actually-
Mudlet, 3 Eddie.
Actually, if you include the new Plucky that can search Liar, which also
my
does
God.
that,
True.
you have 18.
True.
18
Argo
more drops.
Liar. Argo Liar. That's all
Argo
you need.
Liar.
Argo
Whale,
Liar,
boat,
question
harp.
mark. Whale
Well, boat harp.
harp question mark.
heart.
But yeah, one of my favorite stories from the pool selection is that at pick number 4 was Super Insane, and he picks Earth right away. Because he was privy to the plan for Talus. And then like I witnessed as Earth did not get picked for the next 20 picks, and watched Super Insane slowly go insane in general chat as he's going like, did I completely misread this? Why is no one else picking Earth?
And Bean not picking Earth was crazy too.
Well, Bean's gonna pick Frost. Bears
gonna play more Frost.
Bears is half Frost.
More Frost, guy picks
is
more
all
Frost?
Frost. Bean was picking Frost every single time.
And then Blizz. Blizz is there.
Yeah.
Blizz does Blizz things.
Okay, the
Well,
thing
we
is,
all
I
know
don't
half of
think
the
Bean.
famous Blizz
I don't
player
think
Omni
Bean
Joe.
brought Blizz a single time.
That's crazy.
Honestly,
That's
if I was in
crazy.
Leicester, I'd also probably pick Frost and then play Bears. Like, if
Yeah.
I'm gonna be real.
Yeah.
Or I'm picking Fire and playing Spiders.
Yeah.
Some weird
True.
shit.
True. All right.
Fighter.
But yeah, so let's talk about that deck building though.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
did you guys have like collaboration with your Pantheon? Kind of like what's the best build? Like going into
we did.
pools and all that stuff?
We did a bunch of like theory crafting early on. In fact, the solar deck that Justin brought to our top 16 was a deck we had theory crafted very early on with the basic idea of, okay, let's try and take Bo's deck from Dallas and fit it to the Estriad rule set. So the moment I started seeing him using solars, I was like, okay, I know exactly what Justin is on here. Which was very scary because I felt like at the moment I saw it, I was like, oh, I probably lose this 9 times out of 10 because he has healers and I don't. But we got the footage for all of the top 16 and pools, and I plan on uploading all of my pools and my top 16 once I get it all edited together. But you will witness as I draw like every copy of Ambrosia in my deck in both games 1 and 3.
That's crazy.
I mean, you
That's
can never
actually
too much
crazy.
Ambrosia, though.
That's... Sometimes you're just really good at drawing Ambro.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it never hurts. There's no such thing as too much Ambro, in my opinion. I'll take all 3
True.
Ambros
Let's
opening.
talk about seeing all your laurels
There you
constantly.
Even crazier than that to just match because I also had Earthquake in hand almost every game. Like, I think I had Earthquake in hand all 3 of those games. I just didn't need to deploy it in most of them.
That's crazy, actually.
Just draw the one-ofs.
Right?
True.
Just draw it, bro.
Just draw
Yeah.
Goldbine.
Just
Just
draw
draw
it.
Goldbine.
But yeah, let's talk about pools though. So finishing
Yeah.
first in your pool, how do you
Yeah.
feel going into it? And with everyone else in your pool being 1S Plays, Gator, and Shady Penguin, how'd you feel going in?
So I've already put out a video like reviewing my pools and going over the basics of this. So like people can go watch that if they want some more details on my thoughts there. But like when I was looking at pools, my biggest concern was if there were, because we couldn't, one of the rules was that we wouldn't be put in a pool with anyone else with our element. So another advantage of being on Demeter or Zeus is that at max, you would have to deal with one other player who had access to Demeter or Zeus, which would give you a big advantage in your pool matches. I had a pool that had no Thunders and no Frosts. So I was in a pretty good place. The players in my pools aren't people who are like constantly playing the game like I am. So I felt pretty good from an experience perspective. However, there was a couple factors that did make me very scared. Those factors were, one of my opponents was fire, so burn. One of my opponents was shady, so burn. And one of my opponents was from the Water Pantheon, which means Dimax was deck building.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Loved it. Love it.
Dimax.
The Dimax deck building is undefeated. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Don't
really
think
is.
that's a real
I'll be
unmatch.
honest.
I think
I'll
he's
be
just
honest.
like an
I could have thrown my water pool really, really easily because I went into that pool match with a deck that was like, oh, I believe in Fertilith. That was a mistake. That was a mistake.
Believe
and
in
the only reason
Fertilith.
I won that 2-0 is because my opponent was at an experience level where they didn't really know to expend to draw. If they had been expending to draw on the turns they didn't have an Elestral, I would have been able to fulfill Fertilith's condition, and I would have lost.
It's crazy.
That's crazy. Well, other than Vertilith, what was the craziest thing you've seen like dropped in one of your matches? Like, what was the spiciest tech like someone threw in their deck?
One of place had spoiled fruit and main.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
I had watched one of Play's previous because I believe one of Plays had already done both of their other pool matches by time ours happened, or at least their one against Shady. And I'd seen Spoiled Fruit, so I knew they were definitely on it somewhere, but I'd only seen it from games 2 onward, so I did not know it was in their main. So I had the brain genius strategy of going, okay, I will main Fertilith here. Mistake. Always a mistake. Fertilith is not your friend. But the brain genius play was, okay, we're going to, assuming Spoiled Fruit is in their side, we're going to main Fertilith. We're going to try to deploy Fertilith at some point in game 1 to bait them to bring in the Spoiled Fruits. But lo and behold, this Verdalith is coming out of my deck in game 2 and 3, and it's being replaced by Magnetic Force Field.
Magnetic force. That's crazy.
I did
Insane.
not get to resolve the Magnetic Force Field, but I opened it game 2, and at the end of the game, they revealed that their hand had 3 eruptions from like turn 1.
That's crazy.
That's actually wild. But going to top 16, Earth being the only Pantheon to have all 4 members make it into top 16 is crazy. What are your thoughts on that?
Mudland is my best friend now and forever.
Yeah.
Also, Equiling's broken.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Oh, yeah.
it's not broken. They can come
100%.
back to 3. What do you mean?
No,
True.
Lord Unlimited
never.
was
Yes.
broken.
Never.
I have to listen to this nonsense every week.
Our Equilink's champion Demeter should be a 5/5 that can Nexus and pop 2 back
Shut
row.
up. Shut
True.
up.
Shut
Hey,
up.
that's what I'm saying.
Shut up,
That's what I'm
man.
saying.
Like, we have the best lith. Both Verdaliths, goated.
True. You just play both Verdalist, and
True.
then you just
True,
like
just play both.
I don't know, just sure enchant.
Panzer
hit your
enchant 10 to
Vanderglyph.
it. Nexus 10.
True.
You're not thinking.
True.
Oh, yeah, that's great. That's
Shout out
great.
New Panzer. Best card!
Oh man. Shout out to that early Moonrise period where the like Paleoth, Cedar Sword,
Yes.
I remember
Saint
that.
Harbor
Yeah.
deck with also Panzer in it was being hyped up.
Yes.
I remember
A couple
the-
people at my Toronto locals were on that list because of Coder, including Sean, but also like the store owner of the store we go to in North York was also on it for a bit there. And it's like, man, that is the most fake hyped up deck I've ever seen.
I was at the gym and I'm like sending him lists of what I want to play, and he messaged me, goes, "Yo, this is one of the best decks," and sends me the list.
No
Doesn't send me
way.
the spirit count. And I look and I'm like, "Fuck, what's the spirit count on this?" So I just made the spirit count up, and it was fucking terrible. The deck sucked.
That deck
If you
was
didn't-
more fraudulent than Water Reanimator.
If you didn't see Paleoth,
Oh,
if you didn't,
it was pretty
no.
fraudulent.
Oh,
if you did see Paleoth, it was the end of the game. It was the end of the game. You could play
Time
shit.
out.
Listen, I'll admit I was one of the Water Reanimator players in that, and I was like 3-4. It was
Water
nowhere close to top
Reanimator-
cut.
Water Reanimator has a top in Moonrise.
It's got 2.
Far that's fraudulent than that Saint Harbor deck.
And
Like,
Titan also has tops, so it's not fraudulent. Let's be honest.
True.
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 One top.
was there a
Yeah.
second Water Reanimator top in Moonrise? I don't think
It was
one.
same tournament. There was 2 in top 8.
Just like
Okay.
End Titan.
Okay.
It's like
Okay.
End Titan.
Yeah,
Hey, I was
because
top 16. Okay, I was top
Yeah.
16.
I remember
That's
White Rebellion
surprising.
being one of the 2 Water Reanimators who topped.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
I take like partial credit for that because the reason he got on the Foamy Snark Drake King line that he had in that deck was me. I was telling him that every week at locals.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's sick. That's actually sick.
I played
But
against YR in that event, and it was like, damn, dude, this deck is sick. Does
Yeah,
it do
yeah.
anything, though? Like, do you ever win the game?
I was
My biggest problem with that list was the fact that he had one of each of his 2-drops. Like with Drake King, that's cool. Why are we doing that with like Caprigal and
Locagon.
and
Or Locagon.
Oistillery?
And
Yeah.
Locagon.
yeah, I was what's it? It was like a week before like that premiere where actually I think it was actually Daybreak format where 2 decks like topped.
Yeah.
That's I think I was referring to.
Yeah, like
it was-
late Daybreak, it had a breakout performance, and like,
Yeah.
that made people really hype on it going into Moonrise, especially because, in theory, that deck also had a really good matchup into Blizz because of
Yeah.
how easily it could pop the Blizz.
Yeah. It was funny because the Water Discord was talking about that too.
Yeah.
I was playing in Stellar Kristoff's tourney.
Mhm.
Before like a week before that tourney. I faced Jack Yomu.
Yeah.
Playing Water Reanimator, I was like, dude, this deck is sick. I am building it. And same thing, Soren was also in that tournament, and he was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna play that as well. I went 3-4, he goes top 8. Like
Hell yeah.
and then I forgot who. There's one person who was like really hyping up that deck, and it's just like, guys, we were supposed to wait till Moonrise to play this. We weren't supposed to tell anyone now.
Funny enough, I saw that
I
deck
think it was
on the-
Bungus, actually. That was
yeah,
probably,
yeah,
that
it
was
was
probably
Bungus.
Julian.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember he was big on the the Hurricane no counter rune version of that deck.
Yes. I remember putting Chariot Ride in that deck. It was
Yeah.
it was crazy.
Yes, I
No
remember
way.
in the Water Discord, like the week before Moonrise dropped, he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna try and replicate the Moonrise version of this by running Chariot Ride."
Yeah. All right, but moving back to finish off the Elestriad,
Yeah,
being one of the newcomers to Elestriad, making it all the way to finals is crazy. Huge congrats on that. What are your thoughts making it to finals and having to face against Trish, who is known for getting second place in a lot of things?
So one, it felt weird because I have had a curse in the premieres where I have not been able to get past top 8. Like this last premiere of Moonrise was my third top 8. And like, oh man, what? And like, the farthest I've gotten in the PNM was top 4. And then I stroll up to the Estriad and get into finals. Like, what is happening? This is wrong. I went through Justin and Jess to get here. This does not feel correct.
Yeah, no, that was really a stacked bracket.
Yeah.
Like having to go through Carts and Coffee, then Jess, then Caleb,
Yeah.
and then Trish.
Yeah, that's
and
just
when
like
I was initially looking at that
gauntlet.
bracket, I was like, there's a very real possibility if I make it to top 4, I have to fight Bean.
yeah.
And also bringing back up what you said about either decks being on Zeus and Dem.
Yeah.
3 of your 4 top 16 matchups were Earth and Thunder.
Yep.
And then having to go against Caleb on Burn.
Yeah.
My bracket was so fucked. As soon as Caleb lost to Bean, my bracket was over because I had Bean facing Jess. I was like, it's over.
The moment I beat Justin, I was like, oh, I'm breaking so many people's brackets.
I had you beating Justin but losing to Jess. I had you beating Justin but losing to Jess, and then he goes, "What's your bracket?" I sent him a screenshot. He goes, "Oh, I broke it." I'm like, no.
I was refusing to tell him anything until he submitted his bracket.
Yeah. But yeah. But you mentioned it in the finals video about what would you like for your divine. Now let's say if you win the next 2 Elestriads, I don't know how they're gonna be doing it going forward.
Yeah.
But let's say you win once, you get your divine, you win again.
Yeah.
What would you like? Are you doing artifact, invoke, all that stuff? What would it be?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I'm honestly not sure. I'm not sure. That's something I really have to think on. I gotta focus on getting that Rhinosec divine first. Like,
Yes,
that's
what
important.
I'm
I
saying.
feel
That's
like the artifact would be like, while this is enchanted to an Elestral, it is also considered an Elestral or some shit like that.
Yeah.
So you can proc
something
your
like
Rhinosec shit.
Yeah.
Oh, that actually was
Alright.
kind of cool.
All right. So that's it for the Elestriad stuff. We're going to move on towards the ban list. If you guys caught last week's episode, we put in our predictions of what we think is happening with this upcoming ban list. And the results being that Rise was limited to 1 and Elichik was banned and sent to Tartarus. What are our thoughts on that? Because I know they were both mentioned in our video, but I want to get everyone's thoughts on that list.
So before that, I have to ask, how is everyone feeling about Dan's completely fake tweets?
I'll never trust a word out of Dan Adrian's
What that was
mouth when
hinted
it comes
there was
to
real.
tweeting about ban lists. I don't think he's a real guy.
No, bro, he's
like-
such a a memer when it comes to that. He's
Yeah,
just like,
I was
I'm
like,
just gonna post whatever
He's gonna
and
be
blame
a
my
shitter.
daughter. Pretty much.
So I know Dan is definitely watching this video because Dan
Sorry,
has said on a recent stream that he's watched the first episode.
Yeah.
Dan, please keep doing that. Please keep posting stuff like that.
Please.
Like,
Dan,
remember the
please,
first?
We need money.
Remember the December list? Like, it was like PTA Gorgons, like Ambro. He just put like a
Random
fake
shit.
list after the real one.
I didn't even remember that he did the same crap there. Oh my
He
god.
did the first one that was like completely correct, and then the next one was just like all like the main ruins in the game.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
I'm just so mad that they didn't kill Rise from the Ashes. I
did want that card banned.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it at 1, honestly.
I hate
Yeah,
it so
I'm
much.
okay with the 1.
There's like a lot
Yeah,
of
I
decks
guess,
that
it's
play
like-
it.
It's just annoying.
So if you look at the decks that play it, like Blistrix, there's a high possibility that it just gets milled and you don't see it unless you play a tech like Pandison. Other than that, you just will like never see it.
Yeah.
So on Rise, it's like I think a limit to 1. It makes a lot of sense in the context of the decks that were using it in Moonrise.
Mm-hmm.
However, there are many other decks that can get good use out of Rise in Firestorm, and it just becomes a power 1 of in those that is really annoying. Like you can just like it was hard to justify like putting in Rise to like Bears, Firestorm Bears. But now you can just easily spawn the 1 of and go like, this is the max amount I can run anyways. And if you've outed my Majorsa, I can just go, okay, bring back Majorsa.
Right,
Don't give Peyton ideas! Don't give Peyton ideas! I don't want to deal with him! He just ask me, I don't need it! I don't need this! Please!
I have a local Bears player who went 5-2 last premiere with Ursaden like Water Nexus. And I know he's definitely watching this video and gonna throw that in because he played the Majorsa list like yesterday at our locals.
Yeah. There was some
gonna get the idea with the Rise
stuff at 5-2 in this final Moonrise premiere.
Yeah, no, it was a crazy tourney. But with those cards being hit though, what do we wish like should have been banned? Like what else do you think we missed?
Eruption.
A dog that I hate.
Agreed.
The dog that I hate.
I am done with Eruption.
I think Eruption could have been hit, but I also think the Moonrise Werepup should have definitely been hit. Like truly.
I can see that. Like I don't
At least
think
to 1. Like
needed to
hit
be hit
to 1
immediately. I can see it definitely being hit in like the next wave of bans though, for sure. If like the new champ Lycavoid really is as broke as everyone says it's gonna be.
Well, that's what Trish won the case tournament with.
Yeah.
Oh, did he?
He won the case tournament and
So
he was
like
playing
that
the
was a
Lycavoid list.
16-person tournament. Like I'm not trying to read too much into that, but it's definitely very strong.
And it's also like the Trish diff.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I kind of don't want to talk about the Lycavoid too much right now because we are going to talk about Firestorm later, and like I have some thoughts about that card. But regarding like pre-hits, like I tried to think about it like from the perspective of the of this Banlist council that has now been established. People did not react well to the Farrageist pre-hits. So I think it makes a lot of sense that they would have wanted to avoid another pre-hit here.
Yeah.
The Tartarus Guard Squad.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense to me, but also it's a thing of like the only reason we are clamoring for this Lycavoid hit is because we've known the whole set since the end of March.
Yeah.
And like Dan has already said multiple times that he's changing the structure of how they do reveals. My hope is that they start the reveals around the same time because I think it's good to get like the initial information, like the big hype cards out there when people are making their pre-orders. But like just stretch out the reveals for much longer. Like only reveal do like 1 or 2 reveal videos a week. And that way you can stretch out the reveals until close to the set release, and you won't have this kind of situation where we have 2 months of knowing the full set.
Yeah, definitely agree on that.
I think if there's a lot of things that are like ascensions and stuff like that, don't reveal the ascension till like near the end of the reveals. That way people can speculate what it'll do based off the like pre-ascension thing. I think that'd be a good idea.
I do think you want to like reveal like the new divines and like the core ascension line of the focus divines early on. Those are the big things I think you want to reveal very, very early on, because those are the big hype items
Right.
That are going to be pushing pre-orders.
Where's our posthumous champion of fucking Artemis, man?
True.
That would be awesome.
I don't want the moose. I don't want to get moose. That card is really easy to get into.
Brewlock's getting to run
about-
2 mooses now.
True. Shout out to Brewlock.
getting
I think
salivating.
strongest soldier.
Yeah.
He gets to play Rise in that now, even better now too.
Oh yeah.
So it's Rise
Yeah.
the Moose.
Also, on Rise, Rise getting limited is actually a pretty massive hit for Majesty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because like
Yeah.
Rise
My
is like the
floodgate!
most reliable way for you to beat getting Earthquaked or Laurels or any sort of hard removal. It was also actually pretty good against Shield because you could, if you got shielded, you could rise the Globby and then go into Majesty. So that's a pretty significant hit for that deck.
Yeah. All right. Any cards that we think shouldn't make the list? I know, Joel, you had some talks about the counter runes.
I have some opinions here. I don't think we're in a place where any of the staples should be getting hit.
No, not
No.
But
really.
Truth Nuke,
100%.
Truth Apocalypse.
Yeah.
I think they should never ban Eruption. I love that card.
Nah, get rid of that card.
Ooh,
Okay,
Now,
card.
my philosophy on cards that should be banned is if there's no scenario in which a card is both good and fair, it should not exist. And Rise and Eruption are both in that category.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
hey, Eruption's the only way I beat Bo in the PNM. Come on, let's be real here.
Oh,
I thought I owned 0 Eruption, and then I realized it was an uncommon, and I owned 4.
Was
And
he
also
playing
the
Bloodlust
clash
list?
packs.
Yeah, and I had the Clash pack, the Stellar one, so I was like, oh,
Oh
I
my
just
god.
threw.
I
Whoops.
hate that Voldusk deck. I hate that Voldusk deck. I hate specifically the Lunar Phase that searches
We
Voldusk.
went to time.
Whoa,
We
whoa.
went.
That card is the core of any issues I have with that deck. Because I don't think a deck should just be able to go, oh, I can't deck out, and this costs me literally nothing.
And I show up to
Bo
locals with it too.
versus me.
Yeah, and I stopped both you and Peyton on it.
Bo, to game 1, 3 Voldusks. My turn, flips final quarter,
Yeah.
draws 4 cards, and I'm like,
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
go next.
yeah,
yeah.
Let's go next, dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I win in
Nah, that deck
time
is crazy, though.
because
I
they keep a bad hand, and I go Eruption Ambro, and they're like, can't win in time.
I'm very salty about my top 8 game with Bo because, like, what happened was I didn't realize that loop was possible, so I was like, okay, I'll just play for deck out. And then I figure out that he reveals that she has the loop like 30 minutes in. And I'm like, well, go to game 2, hit time before I can get into myself into an advantageous enough position, lose the time. Cool. That's great.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Let's go,
I
Bo.
love control. Oh my god!
Nah, but that-
Bo, my
That deck
eternal
is
goat.
crazy though, I will say, because I took it to the premiere that was before the last one, and I went 1-7 with it. I wasn't,
Yeah.
I was ass,
Yeah.
but the deck, you can like draw and heal so crazy with that
Oh
deck
my
though,
god, yeah.
because you can just like be like, yeah, draw 1, heal 1, play the heal card. I get to heal another 1, heal 2, draw another card. It goes crazy. It really does.
Yeah.
Like there was a point where my
that
opponent.
deck also just like explodes if it faces down Galaxair.
Or anything else.
Or
which, is,
like, anything-
which is why I'm so upset about losing to it in top 8, because like post side I should beat that deck like 9 times out of 10.
Mhm.
And then our set championship was 4 Voldusk stack.
Let's
No, it was 5. It was 5.
Let's
It was
not
5
talk about-
Voldusks.
Let's not talk about Moonrise Constructed. That's not a fantastic format. It's not my favorite
Format.
format ever.
We're not playing
Looking
Moonrise
much more forward to
anymore.
Firestorm Constructed.
There we go. Hell yeah.
Yeah, now we have to deal with rabbits in that constructed.
Woo!
Hell
It's,
yeah.
I'm okay
it's
with
more
that.
that there's more viable options for what kind of decks you can build there. In Moonrise
Mhm.
Constructed, it's like you're throwing if you're not building Lunar Phase Tornation exactly.
Yeah, I can see
Yeah.
that. Especially because, like, it feels like every deck finds a way just to throw a Werepup Full Moon Lycavoid in it. And
Yeah.
it's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll just throw this in because, like, it's one of the most annoying cards to play around.
Yeah.
Because it feels like Galaxy in a way where it's like, I slam down Werepup. Okay, what do I do to not trigger this thing's ability?
Yeah.
It's
The,
just-
the,
How
the
do I
bigger,
not
the
die
bigger
right
thing
now?
is that in that format with no Cryoblast, with no Eddy, with the main position changer being only a card that only affects Lunar, it's really hard to deal with the Tornation. Really, really hard. And the best way to deal with the Tornation is New Moon, which requires you to be on a Lunar Phase package. And if you're on a Lunar Phase package, why aren't you just on Tornation yourself? Because it's just one card, Winjin is just one card Tornation.
right.
Mm-hmm.
True.
I think at the set championship there were a total of 2 misses on Winjin calling Lunar
Yeah.
Phase. Yours
Yeah.
and mine.
No.
Yeah.
And it literally cost us games. We
Yeah.
lost games because of it.
Yeah.
Missing it.
Yeah, I came second at our store championship, and first place was Mr. Adrian Barber of
Come
Daybreak
back,
fame.
come back.
Playing a list that was an exact net deck of mine that we built a half hour before the event.
Hell yeah.
I picked up Adrian from my dad's place because he's with my sister, and I'm like, yo, do you want to play in the set championship? He goes, maybe. I'll talk to Joel about it. And then literally shows up. He's like, we did this in half an hour.
Yeah.
All right. So I think it's time to move on to Firestorm. So
real quick on the ban
Yeah.
list, though, I do have a more radical ban list opinion. This is a ban list opinion I've been pushing since the limited list with Earthquake and Laurels. I know Sean is familiar with this concept, but how familiar are the rest of you with the concept of choice restrictions?
Is that like
I know
the
what
Duel
choice
Links
restrictions
thing? Is that Duel Links?
It's similar to Duel Links, but the system I'm more thinking of is like what Vanguard and Digimon use, which is basically they give you a group of 2 cards, and you are not allowed to put cards from Group A in the same deck that you're putting cards from Group B.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The real strength of that
I
kind of hit is that it allows you to avoid hitting balanced combinations in the crossfire when you're dealing with like actual problem cards.
An example is like Elechik being choice restricted with Demeter and
Elechik
Zeus.
is a perfect example. Like Elechik is completely fine with any divine that isn't Zeus or Demeter. In fact, it's very good for the viability of decks built around other divines, that they have access to like that just good body that they don't have to worry about, okay, if I see this after I find my divine, it's still going to be a decent body for me to run out.
Mhm.
But it's completely busted with Zeus or Demeter, so if you go instead, okay, you cannot use Elechik and in the same deck as Zeus or Demeter. Elechik is a completely fine card. And similarly, on the Lycavoid thing, my one thing with hitting Werepup is that like it deals with the problem, yes, but the Moonrise Werepup stuff is like very well balanced and adds some cool things to the game, and I don't want that gone. So the solution I would want them to go with is either hard ban champ Lycavoid, or ideally you choice restrict champion Lycavoid with either Moonrise Werepup or Full Moon. Either of them works. So you keep the Moonrise Werepup stuff completely intact, and champion Lycavoid gets to be a cool payoff for the Suppression Matters deck going into it via champion Werepup.
No, that'd be a solid way to like deal with a lot of like some of the more overpowered cards for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that
and
makes
it
sense.
just helps like balance out for sure, because like there are decks like for instance like Frost. I don't think they have like a Divine Searcher yet or anything. So it's like how do you find your Kione to do your Frost shenanigans and stuff? You have to just hard draw into it.
Lucky.
And especially now that we know all of Firestorm, like the thing is that like if we were getting, if all the Divine Searchers, we could be confident, outside of like Zeus and Demeters, of course, if we could be confident that they were all going to be like on cast, search Divine on a 4 attack body or a 5 defense body, then it would be like, okay, getting rid of Elechik is fine because the other Divines are going to have something of this quality within the year anyways. But that's not what's happening.
Right.
One of the 4 Divine Searchers is that. The others are Spy Nymph, which is a really bad body that is only decent if you sacrifice the deck space to put in the Spinal Sac stuff. Then you have Torchin, which is one of the worst cards I've ever read.
Torchin's go.
Broken and
Titan.
Torchin's like go.
And then Sorlet, which is a good card, but is awful as an Aeolus Searcher to enable an Aeolus-based strategy. That said, I do think the design direction of Sorlet is like actually the perfect place to put the Zeus and Demeter Searchers that they're going to put out, because like, okay, you can have more consistent access to Zeus or Demeter, but your opponent has a lot more ways to interact with your attempts to get it. And also, you just don't get to go. Okay, slap down my Searcher. I get Zeus. I get to immediately slap it down, beat over your guy.
What do you mean? Just flip over Gorgon's Gaze. Just gaze it, bro.
Just
have
gaze
the
it. Yeah, I mean,
just gaze it, bro.
and of course, nothing about my goat, champion of Hephaestus Volcaries.
Yeah, that card's incredible. That's the bar
Oh,
that
that guy.
that's the bar that like all
Needs
the
to be
Divine
banned.
Searchers need to be reaching, because like the reality, Hephaestus is a pretty bad divine, but I'll be honest, the divines that aren't Zeus or Demeter aren't that much better. They could all use something of that quality.
All right, but on this topic of Firestorm, I want to move in to ask y'all, What's the deck you're most looking forward to in this upcoming format? I know we've
I know
been
the
testing
answer.
a little bit.
We all
so
know
let's
the
go.
answer from Sylvie.
My answer is very
Motherfucking
similar to
spiders.
Sean's because we've been nabbing
Oh,
out this
I'm
deck
sure.
together. I love spiders.
I'm
That
very
deck
much
is
enjoying
sick.
my signed Paracne from
That
A
deck is
Drive.
sick.
Hell yeah.
Yes, sir.
People are not real.
That said, my hype for spiders, I'm sorry, Log, it's given me a deep hate in my heart for Antitan.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't make the rules.
Kick them out.
it's-
Get them out of
Listen,
here.
That
if
kid him out.
Lycavoid and spiders become meta, that's free for Antitan.
True.
We get our Spectaris out for free.
No.
We get our free of Arm Ascensions. It's good eatings for Antitan.
True.
I'm
That's actually
sure,
gonna be a
I'm
crazy
sure.
matchup. Anti versus like spiders, because like
Yeah.
We're losing.
So-
We're fucking losing. We just
you're
lose.
losing.
No, no,
Just
no,
lose
there are
that
ways-
matchup every
There,
time.
there are ways to deal with it, but it's so annoying. Especially the
Yeah.
fact that Antitan gets its immunity from your opponent having
No, it's if
Insectoid on
you.
the
It's
field.
if you. It's you.
It's you.
Is it?
It's if you.
I
have it.
I
think-
could have sworn.
I think it's the pop effect. Like you can pop and dissect Elestriad on the field.
Yeah, I know Ardvarn
Wait,
can do that.
Yeah.
I'm grabbing my Antitan card. Wait. I should know this, guys. I should know this.
Always one on
There's a
deck.
real possibility I just misread the card.
Yeah, no, while there's a bug on the field, so it counts for
Yeah,
you and
yeah,
your
it's
opponent.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 okay,
Awesome.
yeah.
So, like, the Warmites are never able to do anything to Antitan. It's really annoying.
Mm.
That's
You
actually
could
crazy.
try playing a better deck.
True.
Just dodge the Antitan matchup.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
listen,
true.
no one plays
Or,
this
like,
deck,
some-
you know,
just
never
based on
play
these
as
premieres.
long
They're
as
just
you
not
know?
gonna
you're
convert
fine.
again.
Fine.
Simply stop the Antitan from hitting the field, or go like, okay, you don't have a bug on the field. I'm just gonna Kinleo now. Get out of
Hear me
here.
out. Everyone
Yeah.
loved End Titan, and then it didn't convert, and then we never saw it again.
Yeah.
Listen, it's because I didn't play in those tourneys, alright? I didn't
True.
play in the
You
last
played.
two.
You
Sure
played in
I
a one
did.
that was 22.5% of players, and we did not convert. I don't know
I
what
got
you're
top
talking
16,
about.
alright?
We did not convert. We had 2 players. We did not convert.
I'm talking about more next week when I do the Antitan direct.
Oh,
But the I think that was that the belt build tourney when we're all on the Toxion build.
no, that was me with fucking Dallas going into Dallas. I'm like
Oh my
Toxion.
gosh.
I'd be like going to Dallas. I'm like, oh, Toxion's kind of good in the Bliss because like they're always down on spirits. And I'm like, wait, this card's ass. And so I got off of it and went into like more of the lunar stuff, and it did terrible either way.
Yeah.
Sean, you have thrown so many
I
premieres
have,
this season.
I have with like
by
last
going,
minute changes.
I should mainboard this thing specifically for Blistrix.
No. So like Toxion was just good in general, but like the way I looked at it was like it's also good against Bliss, like really good. And no, that was not my concept. Like my Phosphocell list that I was playing, leading up to it was popping the fuck off. And then the night before, I said, I'm gonna wipe the deck, make a Thunder Good Stuff with a ooh scary Phosphocell drop, and then it sucked. It actually did good.
This is why I lock
You
in all
would
my
put
decks like
bad
3 days
cards in
ahead
my
of time.
good deck and it made it bad.
It
What
did.
happened? Shit.
It's cool.
When it was not optimized, it was so much better. And I started optimizing it, and I'm like, yo, this deck is getting terrible.
I remember I forgot what it was. Like how many weeks before Dallas? Like Sean, you reach out, you're like, Log, I
I need a
list
list.
for
I
Dallas.
need a list. I want to play Bugs.
That's when I got you on Antitan. And it's like the time like after one of those premieres, I was like, dude, I think this deck sucks. And we just played the Aardbud build. I was like, why am I just not playing fives if I'm playing Aardbud? And then we went back to it. We're like, wait, Ignector might be it. I built the worst
Sure,
Ignector list in existence. Get top 16 by blinding in fives each game. And having
No.
Trish lose his mind in the stream, like reviewing that list.
Yep,
I actually like the Inector version of Anti. I think it's actually pretty solid.
I hate it.
it's
Every time
funny.
I played it, I've had so much fun. I just like my opponent just looks at me like, "Fuck, I know Embarum's gonna
I
come out
lose.
next turn. What do I do?"
I had fun dropping Phosphocell, popping a singular back row, and then getting hit by Earthquake.
Yep. Back in Daybreak, when I started like getting into this game, I pulled full art Phosphocell. I was like, man, I'm hyped. I'm gonna build this deck. I was like, play testing against JT Speed at my locals. literally I played it. I got out fossils. I was like, okay, cool. Earthquake out. Like, this deck is terrible. Like, immediately
Shit from a
deconstructed
butt.
it. I was like, I hate this
Shit
card.
from a butt.
I think you could definitely like main deck like Divine Blessing in it because you just have so many spirits on board.
Yeah,
But,
but that
like-
was also when Earthquake was at 3.
The deck is just so bad. Solar Charge makes it great though. That's what
Yeah.
matters.
Solar Charge
Makes
stonks
it great.
up. Fossil stonks up.
In Magical
Yeah.
Fairyland, it's really good.
When you don't optimize the deck, it's good. When you try to optimize it, it makes it bad. That's how it is.
But when you optimize it, you're just gonna play Thunder Nexus.
Exactly.
You're just gonna end
Why
up
the
playing
fuck does
3
this play
Sparket,
like-
like...
Spark It's back. We can just play Spark It again. Oh my god.
Oh, what was Dimax things today? Like, Spark is like a -1 like card advantage if you play it. I didn't, like, read it fully, but-
I got into a
but-
Twitter argument with Dimax over Meg Cargo. Like, I'm
No,
not listening to that, man.
No, listen, I have mixed feelings on Spark It. I trust his judgment on it. Honestly, I have some mixed feelings. But on the topic of cards that we kind of hate, what's the thing we're fearing the most this format? And we can't say Lycavoid.
I can't say Lycavoid.
Shit! What the hell am I
Because everyone's gonna say
What?
Lycavoid. I'm not,
I hate
not
Honestly,
Lycavoid.
The
Honestly,
jump
I
scare
think-
of fucking Voltempest. Oh
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
oh,
just
I-
about
I
to say
think- I think
the
Voltempest
Zeus
jump
champ
scare.
stuff is the Zeus champ stuff is going to be very kind of scary because it's like your opponent's just going around a champ and you're like, okay, can I actually like swing into this guy? Because if I do, there's going to be a Voltempest coming down,
Yeah.
and then I have to find a way to deal with it.
It comes
It's
on
not
your
gonna be
turn, and then
fun.
on their next turn, they just go, "Oh, ascend over Voltempest with Voltempest, burn your shit."
Oh my lord, yeah, no, yeah. Actually, I didn't think about that. That's actually crazy. Yeah, It's
Yeah,
just like-
And then you play the one of Rise, and you get your Voltentis back in the field.
Ooh,
Now,
scary.
if I play against...
I don't think anyone is going to be on a good build of this in early Firestorm.
No.
But despite it all, I am very scared of Majesty despite everything.
That's what I'm
like
saying.
that's a very
really?
scary thing to think
Yeah.
about.
I'm not
That
really
deck
worried
is-
about that card. If I'm being honest,
I was gonna say, I was like, I might just side like
Dense fog.
Toxeries and Dense Fogs to
So,
my
like-
side. I was like, wait, that card's completely useless into
Yeah.
the matchup because I can't even search out my Dense
Yeah,
Fogs with
yeah.
Dense
Toxeries.
Fogs, yeah.
Yeah.
So being able to attempt to crack the Majesty constantly with Zeus isn't something that makes Majesty bad. It makes Majesty not obscenely broken. Like a good Majesty deck is going to be built with a bunch of counter runes that is always going to like counter runes that will be able to guaranteed protect the Majesty. So like even if you can attempt to crack it, they're gonna have ways to stop you from doing that. And if that Majesty like keeps itself alive, like it's so scary to face down. Stuff like Eddy and Alter are particularly good as tools to dip in on the heal effect and then go back to blood mooning your opponent. Harpy is a really strong card in that deck exactly. Because it gives you draw power in the early game, and then once you have the Majesty up, you just go, okay, I'm going to spend my normal cast on this Harpy. You now have to clear this before you can think about clearing my Majesty.
Sorry, I had to look up what that card does. I completely forgot. I remember it being
Yeah,
revealed,
yeah.
and I was like, my eyes glazed over. I was like, I don't want to
that,
read the water
that
card
card
right now.
is made for exactly Majesty.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think like the Champ Whale, Champ Galaxy is probably going to be a menace. It's just going to make a
Oh,
lot of confusing
nuts.
board states, and it's just going to make everything a lot more complicated. And I'm just not ready.
I
for
already replaced my Eddies with them.
Champ
Like,
Galaxy is pretty good. Like in a normal context, I think Champ Galaxy would just end up being like slightly worse Eddy, but if you have space, you also run it.
Mhm.
Like has a couple upsides, but the downside of being so much easier to crack back on is really big because like one of the best parts about Eddy is it really helps you establish board states where you're going, okay, I'm 2v1, you have to show me 2 counter runes or your thing is dying. And Galaxy isn't able to do that turn after turn because it goes back to 2 attack and you have to use your normal action on it to get back to 5 attack or like Beyond Poseidon.
or you combo Monsoon.
Yeah,
But
I
You
know.
go-
Monsoon
yeah,
is
it's like
like
if
really
you're
there
mad,
are
if
hard
you
mode.
got like,
couple-
go, like Poseidon on board,
That
Alter.
tide also makes it
couple
work.
factors which really put
Oh my-
Galaxy over Eddy as the primary choice right now. Number one is Lycavoid. Eddie cannot crack Lycavoid solo. Majesty can crash with it, and that's a really, really big deal. Eddie also has to crash with Titano Strike, which will probably be very popular. That card's very, very good. And Galaxy is able to cleanly out it. But if you have space for both, you still run both.
But on the topic of like all these water changes, one of the things I'm fearing the most is that new Javalantis. That card is
Javalantis
scary.
cool.
I was
Javalantis
actually
cool.
deck building for that for a while because I actually sat down and read the card and I was like, wait a minute, this card's kind of crazy. No, like if I just play Tsunami, I can just like crack this guy down on the field, dude, and now I can just do piercing to all. Like if I have a board full of water Elestrals, I'm just piercing you. It doesn't matter what you got on the board. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
On top of that, the new Veritaqua also gets the another way to turbo ascend it.
Yeah.
It's very important that unlike Champion Sluggle, who has a horrible stat line that is not useful for anything ever, Veritaqua has a 4/3 stat line, which is pretty solid.
Holy shit.
That's kind of a crazy stat line.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's not
we've
good
seen
stat
them.
line.
We've seen them
Not
experiment like
good
4/4.
Yeah,
I was-
it's not good stat line.
Oh, true. Yeah.
I was watching some people like play the deck. Someone was on a Majesty Javalantis deck, had 2 Poseidons on the field, dropped Veritaqua, Poseidon to Veritaqua, ascended to Veritaqua, Poseidon again to that Veritaqua, ascended Javalantis, and just obliterate a rabbit on the field for piercing damage.
Violated
I
that
think one
rabbit.
of the
What
biggest
fuck?
mistakes people are going to make with both that and Majesty early on is thinking that those go in similar decks when they are completely different decks.
No, they're separate decks, 100%.
It is protect the castle turbo versus kill your opponent turbo.
Yeah.
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 All right. Is there any other cards is there any cards we're actually looking forward to this upcoming set?
New Nimbug.
I was gonna say
I've been-
Reforged.
I
God
Nation,
forbid I say
honestly.
like a fire card.
High Bear Nation, honestly.
I have a bunch, honestly. Like, I could just go down the list. Monsoon, I'm really excited for because Monsoon feels like the closest we've gotten to something that will actually enter the Counter-Rune suite since Argo. It has a lot of niche applications. Being able to stop Zeus or Demeter is really good. Being able to do the Pandora's Box thing of stopping Argo after they pay the full 4 for it is really good. And it also has a cool little thing where if you have Champion Galaxy on the field, you can pick up Monsoon and you have Argo.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's crazy.
I love it.
You know what else
I
is
love
another
it.
good card, but it's not in Firestorm? Mudslide.
Yes.
That's why-
I think Mudslide
No,
hype
don't.
is cope. I think Mudslide
Nah.
hype is super
I've
cope.
been-
Like,
I've been,
Don't play
like, wanting
Mudslide. Thank you,
Mudslide.
Hunter. Or thank you. Don't play Mudslide.
like the stuff that
My
you care about,
artifacts.
the stuff you care about artifacts doing is proactive. You don't care that much if they mudslide you after you've done your proactive stuff. That's fine.
Hey, one of the viewers watching, can you guys like get top 8 with Barabog Turbo this format? That would be awesome.
Yeah,
That would be awesome.
That's for next set when we get the bear
True. But don't do it this set. Do
but-
it too early.
Some other cards like that I'm pretty excited about that I think have some pretty high potential. Brummelinx is an obvious one. Brummelinx is a crazy good card.
Oh, yeah.
There's also Dracodoodle. I like Dracodoodle a ton. I've tinkered around with a Hermes deck centered around that card. The main problem it runs into is that despite the Dracodoodle plays being very powerful, they cost a lot. So if someone can figure out the correct amount of healing to jam in that deck, I think that becomes something very, very scary. Because
Just
like
playing
Hydrake that can infinitely go into Twindra and you have 6 copies and it doesn't lose to removal and it doesn't lose to suppression is really scary. And unlike Voltempest, it doesn't require you to keep a Divine. There's
I thought
also
of-
Carry off is
I
pretty cool
think
too.
I think you can like run with like Nemisel, and then like I'm a fan of the I think it's Zephyral, the solar wind one.
Zephyros.
I think that card is going to be really strong just because like it can just automatically boost your guys up, and you can like also just Nexus off of free spirit. So you can like Nexus to your Nemisel. It becomes a 5 it'll become a 5/3, and then that way you can just like crack back, get some heals, and then it's just like GG's from there.
Yeah.
So
that's a
that's
card
nice.
I'm pretty excited for in the context of Solar, which I think gets a lot better this set. Like, I think like a classic Solar Nexus deck centered around Lust Dragon has a lot more legs this set because you have more counter runes that can activate Lust Dragon during your opponent's turn. Plucky is a really good card. Exaltus is a really good card. And Breeze is an extremely powerful combat trick. So I think that has a lot of legs. Champion Spectaris is a card that I'm generally pretty excited about.
Me too.
It's a lot in a direction that I want to see the game going. Even outside of the insect frame, like a lot of why Hestia works in spiders is that you're able to force the board positions that normally takes a turn of protecting with counter runes to get to, where you're going 2v1 on your opponent and going, okay, show me 2 counter runes. And Spectaris is another tool in this set that allows you to establish similar boards. What else?
I'm excited for the new Vis.
No.
I was playing it for a little bit.
bad.
I know people have very mixed opinions about it. But
I just don't want to see
like
more
it
Viz.
because we get a third Vis again.
I mean,
I hate that
true.
guy.
I like that, but that card's bad.
My opinion on Vis has been the exact same since it got revealed.
It's
This is a
fucking
card that
terrible.
only makes sense as the third Vis, while Vis is semi-limited, and it makes the semi-limit kind of weird. It makes it kind of lose its purpose. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that semi-limit anymore for just giving them the second Vis activation anyways, because
Visk to
but
one.
if you unlimit Vis, this card now has no purpose. It's now the worst card ever printed.
Yeah.
Like,
fucking terrible.
that's obviously hyperbole because it's still a 5, but it's not great.
But why would you play it over the
Yeah,
others?
exactly.
Because it needs another Vis on the board for it to get the no counter rune effect. So it's like you already need to have an established board anyway to
and
play.
if Vis has connected, then your opponent didn't have real counter runes anyway.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it really just makes that
Um,
third Vis nothing because this is a bad card.
But in Earth, Champion Pandason is actually pretty scary.
Yeah, that card is
Because
broken.
being a repeatable healer that doesn't eat your normal action, like the on receive ones, is terrifying. If you can protect that card, it is the scariest healer ever printed.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the
Yeah.
heal decks are gonna move over from Thunder Water to more like a Thunder Earth or like a Water Earth style with the Pandason and Demeter and stuff. Just because it can just repeatedly heal. It's not like a one-time heal, or like you said, it'll take your action for the turn in order to get a heal. It's crazy.
Yeah.
We're going
And
to
the last card I can think of off the top of my head that I'm really excited for, has a lot of potential, is this is a bit of a weird one, but Full Life Forest Burning Woods. That's a really cool card as a sideboard tool, exactly. Because it now creates a situation where if you have space for the Fire Spirits and you want to have stadiums in your sideboard to counter other stadium decks, this is now the best option.
The better option,
There's
yeah.
no
The
reason
better.
to consider an option that isn't this exactly, because it is so good against those decks.
I think it's going to be huge if spiders really pops off this format.
Yeah.
Just a big countermeasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can also be good
Sorry, you two.
into bears. You have to use it proactively there because they're always going to pop their Ursa Den the turn it comes down. But making them pay an extra 2 to go for their big Majursa play is very valuable.
Is it a 2-drop or a 1-drop stadium?
It's a
2-drop.
1-drop stadium.
Oh, is it one drop?
It's a
I
one
thought it was
drop.
a
One
2-drop.
drop, and I think it makes them burn
It makes
too.
them-
if
makes
they
them-
want to
oh,
replace
makes
it.
them expend
Okay,
2
makes
to
sense.
play
Yeah.
stadium.
Okay,
But
okay,
I didn't know if it was going to be like Bears where it's a 2-drop stadium.
No.
I already had,
Only bears get hit with that sin.
Yeah, I already had thoughts on it. It's very similar to Chaotic Swell in Pokemon.
We don't talk about that card.
I love Chaotic Swell.
We don't
Yeah.
talk about that card.
But yeah, having the
ADP
same
say shit.
idea. But the issue is we're not really in a whole Stadium Wars format.
Not
But
yet.
it really just
Yet.
depends on how this
Not
goes with the
yet.
big
Yeah,
users being
exactly.
spiders and bears.
Yeah.
But at the same exact time, if you are versing bears, just Pando's box the Ursa Den when they
True.
disenchant to
Whoa.
search.
Yeah.
Pandora's box
if
stomps
Bears
up.
if Bears
card's
is
good.
good, we have finally found the one use case for for facing against an actually good deck where Pandora's box is worth using.
Well,
there
you
is
just go
finally
against
one.
Argo
Negates
decks,
Lycavoid.
bro.
It negates the Werepub Surge.
It stops
It
Argo,
it
bro.
negates Werep.
Argo.
It stops
Okay,
Argo.
okay,
Stops
okay.
Earthseer.
Stop Argo. Don't do that. Don't do that. I, need my Argo to resolve.
I want to have the Lycavoid talk now. Okay.
Hell yeah.
So
Lycavoid punched my grandmother.
So the thing with Lycavoid is, in a lot of scenarios, Werep up into Lycavoid is fine. It's like it's decently reasonable to deal with. It still has the problems of old Werep up, where it dies super hard to Gorgon's Gaze, and you're stuck with these dead cards still in your deck. However, if your opponent goes first and they played Werep turn 1,
you
if
lose.
you don't deal with that Lycavoid immediately and put up an Elestral that is bigger than the pups, you lose the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the most annoying part about it is that your opponent has the choice in that scenario to either hold the full moon for the battle phase, in which case they will use it in battle step to force whatever you're attacking with to go direct instead of being able to redirect, or they can fire it immediately to dodge Cryoblast. And that creates a really annoying 50-50 that is like, okay, cool, I need to be carrying outs for this, but depending on which side of the gamble my opponent chooses, my outs might not work. And the only cards
awesome card
that
design?
allow you to guarantee that your outs will work are Earthquake, of course, because no matter which option they go for, Lycavoid or Werep, it's still going to die to Earthquake. The other is Hurricane, to force out any counter runes they have, as well as force the full moon to be activated. And that puts you in a scenario where, okay, I guess Hurricane is just mandatory now, because I don't want to just lose to turn 1 Werep, which also puts Argo in a really bad spot, if everyone is on Hurricane. And I just don't like it. I don't like the way that the threat of turn 1 Werep warps deck building. That is the thing I dislike about it the most.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, they turn 1 Werep. My End Titan goes fucking crazy. I'd like to point that shit out.
If they fire it in draw phase, if they hold it for the battle phase, you can't do the End Titan play.
If they're gonna hold it for battle phase, like if in the moment I look at my hand, I have Aardbud, I'm like Aardbud or plus like one other, or like maybe Spec, right?
Yeah.
And they're like in draw phase, I activate full moon. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm summoning fucking Aardbud.
Yeah, of course.
But if my other thing in hand
crazy.
is like regular Spec, and they're like not doing a draw phase, I'm gonna cast Spec, go into battle phase, attack into the pup, because then they can't technically use the puppy effect unless they're doing it on attack. Because you'll be like, enter battle step, activate Spec effect, and activate Spec effect, and they're like, oh, full moon. I'm like, okay, cool. Your pup's still getting fucking popped because you can't use its effect just now it's suppressed.
But like also with Spec, you also still want Hurricane there, because like if they have any counter rune for your Spec, it's just like, oh, I lose the game now.
I think if they're not like, activated in draw phase, I'm gonna Hurricane, which is forcing them to do it anyways, and I'm still gonna fucking Aardbud your shit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's about all the time we got today. So thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, HunterSerge, for coming out, having us interview you, talk about all this stuff, talking about Firestorm, Elestriad, all that. All right, we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.